Simulan mong abutin ang iyong pangarap na magbibigay dangal sa iyong bukas. Ang suliranin, hindi laging nandyan, dapat mong harapin. Kami iyong kasama sa bawat takin, magkaakbay nating lulutasin. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Ang mga aral ay ginintuang atin ng bawat guro na siyang gagabay sa iyong pagkamulat. Naway umukit ito sa iyong isipan, maging mapanuri, sundin ng wasto at nararapat. Kagandahang asal ang ipakita, ipadama ang pusong may malasakit. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Sakali mang tayo'y subukin ng unos, ating haharapin ng walang takot. Sasamahan ka ni Fernan at Dino, ang bagong barkada mo. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, edukasyon mo'y sigurado na. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, edukasyon mo'y sigurado na.
Fernandino Teens TV.
Nan, anong ginagawa mo dyan?
Ay, eto, pinag-aaralan po kung paano mag-graph ng polynomial function with degree greater than 2. Ang hirap pala.
Alam mo, Nan, madali lang yan. Diba, Dino?
Oo, lalo na kung mapapanood natin ang episode sa araw na ito patungkol sa graph of a polynomial function with degree greater than 2.
So, guys, ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Manood na tayo ng Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. Tara!
Let's watch and learn!
Hello there, Fernandino Teens. Welcome to another episode of Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. I hope you're safe and doing well together with your family. I am Ma'am Jude, your math teacher for today. Our topic for today is about sketching the graph of a polynomial function of degree greater than 2. So just sit back and relax as we explore more about polynomials in this episode entitled, Sketch Me the Graph of Polynomial Functions. Our lesson is developed based on the most essential learning competency, understand, describe, and interpret the graphs of polynomial functions. At the end of the lesson, the learners are expected to 1. Sketch the graph of a polynomial function of degree greater than 2 using the table of signs. And 2. Relate the concepts of polynomial functions in real-life situations. Let us start our discussion with an activity. Victory or eliminated. In this activity, let us check your knowledge about polynomials. Here is the instruction. Identify whether each given algebraic expression is a polynomial or not polynomial. So you type on the comment box, victory, if the given is a polynomial. If it is not a polynomial, type eliminated. Are you all set? Game starts. Number 1, 4x raised to negative 2. Victory or eliminated? Great! The answer is eliminated. Number 2, 2 over x squared. Victory or eliminated? Excellent! The answer is eliminated. Number 3, square root of x. Victory or eliminated? Good job! The answer is eliminated. Number 4, negative 9x squared. Victory or eliminated? The answer is victory. Did you get all the correct answers? Very good. From the activity, you can see that an expression is not a polynomial when there are negative exponents, variables in the denominators of any fractions, and square roots of variable. Otherwise, it is a polynomial. So, what is a polynomial function? A polynomial function is a function of the form f of x equals a sub n times x raised to n plus a sub n minus 1 times x raised to n minus 1 plus and so on until you reach a sub 1 times x plus a sub 0, where a sub n is not equal to 0 and n is a positive integer or a whole number. A sub n minus 1, down to a sub 0 are real numbers called coefficients. The degree of a polynomial is the largest power of any x term in the polynomial. A sub n times x raised to n is the leading term. A sub n is the leading coefficient, and a sub 0 is the constant term. The graphical representation of linear functions was introduced to you in Math 8, where you learned that the graph of linear function is a line. Let us say that the given linear function is y equals x plus 2. As you can see on the screen, its graph is a line. In Math 9, you learned how to graph a second-degree function. Recall that a quadratic function is a function that can be written in the form f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. What do you call the graph of a quadratic function? Yes, you are right. It is a parabola. For instance, the given quadratic function is y equals x squared minus 7x plus 10. Looking at your screen, you can see that it is a parabola. Now that you have recalled some basic concepts of polynomial functions and the graphs of linear and quadratic functions, you are now ready to acquire new concept, and that is on graphing polynomial functions of degree greater than 2. When we return, Fernandino teens, let us learn how to sketch the graph of polynomial functions of degree greater than 2 using the table of signs. Stay tuned!
Ang Schools Division Office City of San Fernando, Pampanga ay kaisa ng Department of Education sa pagsasagawa ng mga proyekto at programa na tumutugon sa mga pangangailangan ng mga mag-aaral. Inilunsad ang Division Call Center for Tutors and Guidance Counselors upang magbigay ng educational at psychological assistance sa mga mag-aaral, magulang at stakeholders ng Division. Kaya, kung may nais kayong itanong tungkol sa pag-aaral, maaaring magpadala ng mensahe sa Division Call Center for Tutors and Guidance Counselors Facebook page o tumawag sa mga numero na makikita sa ibaba ng inyong screen tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes sa ganap na alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Maaari rin kayong sumangguni sa ating guidance counselors na nagbibigay ng guidance and counseling services. Lahat ng inyong ibabahagi ay mananatiling confidential. Ang nasabing programa ay nagsisilbing daan upang malaman ang feedbacks ng stakeholders para matulungan ang ating divisyon na mapagbuti pa ang mga sumusunod na programa. Ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Tumawag na sa aming mga numero o bumisita na sa aming Facebook page at magpadala ng inyong mga katanungan.
Fernandino Teens TV.
We are back to Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. A while ago, we had a review on some concepts related to polynomial functions and the graph of linear and quadratic functions. Now, let us discuss the graph of polynomial functions of degree greater than 2. Can you guess how the graphs of polynomial functions of degree greater than 2 look like? The graphs of these polynomial functions are smooth and continuous. No sharp corners, no gaps, no holes can be drawn without lifting a pencil from a paper. In this episode, we shall be sketching the graph of polynomial function of degree greater than 2 using the table of signs. Now, the question is, how can we make a table of signs for polynomial functions? What should we be familiar with before taking the lesson? To answer these questions, let us have the first example. Example number 1. Sketch the graph of the polynomial function p of x equals the quantity x plus 4 times the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 1 times the quantity x minus 3. In making the table of signs, we need the x-intercepts, the point where the graph crosses or is tangent to the x-axis. It also suggests that the graph is either above or below the x-axis between the two consecutive x-intercepts. Further, the roots of the polynomial function correspond to the x-intercepts of the graph of y equals f of x. Also, we need the y-intercept, the point where the graph crosses the y-axis when x equals 0. Let us solve for the y-intercept. First, set all x's to 0, so we have p of x equals the quantity 0 plus 4 times the quantity 0 plus 2 times the quantity 0 minus 1 times the quantity 0 minus 3. Second, multiply the remaining numbers. P of x equals 4 times 2 times negative 1 times negative 3 equals 24. The y-intercept is 24. Next, solve the roots of the polynomial function p of x equals the quantity x plus 4 times the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 1 times the quantity x minus 3. which are also referred to as the x-intercepts. Since the given example is already in factored form, it is easier to find the x-intercepts. First, equate p of x to 0. So we have 0 equals the quantity x plus 4 times the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 1 times the quantity x minus 3. Second, equate each factor to 0. X plus 4 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. Solve each of the above equations to obtain the roots of p of x equals y. X equals negative 4, x equals negative 2, x equals 1, and x equals 3. Thus, the x-intercepts are negative 4, negative 2, 1, and 3. This means that the graph crosses the x-axis at points negative 4, 0, negative 2, 0, 1, 0, and 3, 0. These four roots shall divide the x-axis into 5 regions. In these intervals, y is not equal to 0, meaning y is either positive, the graph is above the x-axis, or negative, the graph is below the x-axis. The table of signs serves as an effective organizer where we select test points by setting x to a convenient value in the interval. Let us look at each region. On the first region, the value of x is less than negative 4. On the second region, the value of x is greater than negative 4 but less than negative 2. On the third region, x is greater than negative 2 but less than 1. On the fourth region, x is greater than 1 but less than 3. And finally, on the fifth region, x is greater than 3. From these intervals, we choose a test value. We solve for the value of y of each factor and determine whether this is positive or negative. We put each factor on the table and use the rules of multiplication of signs to complete the sign for polynomial function. Now, here is the table. On the first column, we place the factors of the polynomial function. On the other hand, the intervals are placed in a row. Like what I had said a while ago, we choose a test value. On the interval x is less than negative 4, we may choose negative 5, or negative 6, or negative 7, or any number less than negative 4. In this case, let us use negative 5. The test value is substituted to each of the factors. But since we are only interested in the sign of the polynomial, we do not need to completely evaluate it. So if negative 5 is substituted to x plus 4, then we have negative 5 plus 4. And negative 5 plus 4 equals negative 1. What is the sign of the answer? Yes, it is negative. We write on the table the negative sign. We do the same for the next factor, x plus 2. We substitute the test value negative 5 to the factor, thus getting negative 5 plus 2 equals negative 3. What are we going to write on the table? You are right, negative. Next is x minus 1. Again, we substitute the test value negative 5 to x minus 1. We have negative 5 minus 1. What is the sign of the answer? Very good. It is negative. And lastly, x minus 3. If we are to substitute the test value, then what is the sign of the result? Absolutely negative. Good job. Now, what is next? we use the rules of multiplication of sign to complete the sign for polynomial function. Let us multiply negative times negative equals positive. Positive times negative equals negative. And negative times negative equals positive. Therefore, the sign is positive. If the sign of the polynomial is positive, then what is the position of the curve of the graph relative to the x-axis? Is it above the x-axis or below the x-axis? Correct. The graph is above the x-axis. Let us write here above. How about on the next interval? X is greater than -4 but less than 2. What can we use as test value? Yes, let us use as our test value -3. Like what we have done in the first interval, the test value is substituted to each of the factors. Help me with this, Fernandino teens. If -3 is substituted to x plus 4, then we have -3 plus 4. So what is the sign of the answer? Yes, positive. Next, if -3 is substituted to x plus 2, then what is the sign of the answer? Very good, negative. Next factor is x minus 1. Again, we substitute the test value -3 to x minus 1. What is the sign of the answer? Very good, it is negative. Lastly, x minus 3. If we are to substitute the test value, then what is the sign of the result? Absolutely negative. Good job. Now, use the rules of multiplication of sign to complete the sign for polynomial function. Let us multiply positive times negative equals negative. Negative times negative equals positive. And positive times negative equals negative. Therefore, the sign is negative. If the sign of the polynomial is negative, what is the position of the curve of the graph relative to the x-axis? Is it above the x-axis or below x-axis? Correct. This time, the graph is below the x-axis. When we return, we will continue completing the table of values. Don't go away, we will be right back.
Maya po oras kaya kayo, Fernandinos. Ako pala ay Elwin Arl Serrano ng City Tourism Office ng Ciudad San Fernando. Ngayong bulan na ini, pagmasusyantaya ang National Heritage Month na ating temang Victory and Humanity, Upholding Filipino Heritage and Identity. Kambena nini, metong karang aktibidades na ng syudad, apin ning launching ning bayong Heritage Passport. Yung Heritage Passport, apin ning metong karing proyekto ning kaya katamong syudad, king pamanamuna ng Mayor Edwin D. Santiago. Anong nuka rin makalagelangan ding eganagan ng heritage sites, heritage structures, naakit tamo king kaya katamong heritage district. Makakayado din kini, ding importansya da ding mapil na tradisyon, kaya ni syudad, kalupa na ning pamangawang parol, ang po yung pamangalesa. May awo siyang heritage passport, uling atin kang dapat gawan, anong nukaran puntalan mo lading at yung passport, at saka ka mag-selfie. Kay ba't kanta, palto making tourism office, at mamiyalang sticker ka rin eganagan ng apuntulan mong lugar. At timaw may ngari ang tutong passport. Balo mi ngeni, panahon na ini, etamo makain bisa lumal, uli na ng COVID-19 pandemic. Kaya naman kimbanwa nga ini, agkatan ko la ding bikers tamo, edad 18 hanggang 50, imbis na lumaot kayo po, Di na nyo lang dita ka oras, di kaya katamong heritage structures, kaya ni Judith. Anya naman karing mumunang 50 bikers ang makayari kaya katamong heritage passport, midinan lang premyong only San Fernando loot bag. Inggawan nyo mo bakanta makapag-register, munta kayo mismo opisina na ng City Tourism, ng munisipyo, at saka kayo magdalang metong valid ID. Kabiyanin kaya kayong heritage passport, ating makasipit ang instruction nung nano pa ing dapat gawan. Anya naman ka rin hanggang kapadyakin, nanano ko pa, tara na!
Fernandino Teens TV.
Earlier, we have already dealt with the two intervals. Now, let us continue to identify the test values and the position of the curve of the graph relative to the x-axis of the remaining intervals. The next interval is x is greater than -2 but less than 1. What is our test value? Yes, let us use 0 as our test value. Like what we have done in the previous intervals, the test value is substituted to each of the factors. Again, help me, Fernandino teens. If 0 is substituted to x plus 4, what is the sign? Yes, positive. Next, if 0 is substituted to x plus 2, what is the sign of the answer? Very good, positive. Next factor is x minus 1. Again, we substitute the test value 0 to x minus 1. What is the sign of the answer? Very good, it is negative. Lastly, x minus 3. If we are to substitute the test value, what is the sign of the result? Absolutely negative. You are mastering it. Now, let us multiply. Positive times negative equals positive. If the sign of the polynomial is positive, what is the position of the curve of the graph relative to the x-axis? Yes, the graph is above the x-axis. Can you still follow what we are doing? You are doing great. In the next interval, x is greater than 1 but less than 3. What can we use as a test value if x is greater than 1 but less than 3? You are right. In this interval, let us use 2. Let us do this. If 2 is substituted to x plus 4, what is the sign? Yes, positive. Next, if 2 is substituted to x plus 2, what is the sign of the answer? Very good. Positive. Next factor is x minus 1. Again, we substitute the test value to 2 to x minus 1. What is the sign of the answer? Yes, positive. Lastly, in x minus 3, what is the sign of the answer? You are right. It is negative. Thank you for your help, Fernandino teens. Now, use the rules of multiplication of sign to complete the sign for polynomial function. Let us multiply positive times positive times positive times negative equals negative. Therefore, the curve of the graph is below the x-axis. Finally, the last interval, x is greater than 3. We can use any value of x as our test value for as long as it is greater than 3. Let us use 4. Can you give the signs? If 4 is substituted to x plus 4, what is the sign of the answer? Yes, positive. Next, if 4 is substituted to x plus 2, what is the sign of the answer? Very good, positive. Next factor is x minus 1. We substitute the test value 4 to x minus 1. What is the sign of the answer? Yes, positive. Lastly, in x minus 3, what is the sign of the answer? You are right. It is positive. Good job, Bernardino teens. Let us use the rules of multiplication of sign to complete the sign for polynomial function. Let us multiply positive times positive times positive times positive equals positive. Therefore, the curve of the graph is above the x-axis. Now, based on the completed table of signs, can you imagine how your graph looks like? Here is the table of signs. So roughly, how does our graph look like? We use the roots of the function, which graphically are shown as x-intercepts, the table of signs, and the y-intercept to complete the graph. Let us sketch the graph of the polynomial function p of x equals the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x plus 2 times the quantity of x minus 1 times the quantity of x minus 3. On our graph, the x-intercepts are already plotted. Here is the y-intercept at 0, 24. Now, let us look at the table of signs. On the first region or interval, the position of the curve relative to the x-axis is above. It means that from negative infinity, the graph comes from above down to the x-intercept, negative 4. On the next interval, the position of the curve of the graph relative to the x-axis is below. The graph will cross the x-axis at point negative 4, 0. The curve is below the x-axis. Then it moves up to the next intercept at negative 2, 0. On the next interval, the position of the curve relative to the x-axis is above. The graph shall cross the x-axis, moving up, and then goes down, making a smooth curve, passing through the y-intercept at 0, 24, down to the next x-intercept at 1, 0. And crosses the x-axis since the position of the curve is below the x-axis, going up to x-intercept 3, 0, up to infinity. The arrowheads at both ends of the graph signify that the graph indefinitely goes upward. This is how we sketch the graph of a polynomial function with degree greater than 2. Now, Fernandino teens, it is time to assess your understanding regarding our topic for today. This activity will lead you to mastering the art of sketching the graph of a polynomial function using the table of signs. In sketching the graph of the polynomial function, f of x equals the quantity x plus 6 times the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 5, I will provide you with a series of questions that you will answer using the comment section if you are watching via YouTube, or if not, you may use your pencil and paper. Just type or write the letter of the correct answer. Let's begin. Number 1. What are the x-intercepts? A, -6, -2, -5. B, 6, -2, -5. C, -6, -2, 5. D, 6, 2, 5. Very good. The answer is C, -6, -2, 5. Number 2. What is the y-intercept? A, -12. B, -60. C, 12. D, 60. The answer is -60. Are you getting them? I hope you are. But let me hold your excitement at the moment. When we come back, we are going to continue with our evaluation. So, make sure that you are still enthusiastic to answer the assessment.
Hindi lamang sa larangan ng pangkabuhayan apektado ang maraming pamilyang Pilipino, kundi maging sa larangan ng pagkatuto ng bawat batang Pilipino. Inilunsad ng siyudad ng San Fernando ang programang Nurturing Environment and System for Thriving or NEST, isang education community pantry na naglalayon para sa isang malawakang pagtulong, paglantabay at paggabay na ang focus ay ang makapagbigay ng tulong at suporta sa ating mga mag-aaral sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng educational needs gaya na lamang ng school supplies, tutorial sessions, study tips, at iba pang mga pamamaraan na mas lalong makatutulong sa pag-angat ng ating edukasyon. Dahil hindi hadlang ang pandemya sa magandang kinabukasang naghihintay sa ating mga mag-aaral. Sino-sino nga ba ang mga kalahok sa programang ito? Sa pagtutulungan ng ating school administrators, guro, magulang, at iba pang mga miyembro ng ating komunidad gaya ng barangay officials at sangguniang kabataan, ay siguradong magiging mas matagumpay ang programang ito. Paano nga ba ang magiging proseso ng naturang programa? Una, magkakaroon tayo ng isang Facebook group, ang Pampanga High School NEST Education Community Pantry na pangungunahan ng Educational Pantry Coordinator. Ang mga magulang, tagapangalaga at mga guro ay ia-add ng ating Educational Pantry members sa Facebook group na ito. Sa page na ito, maaaring i-post ng mga magulang at tagapangalaga o sino mang miyembro ng Educational Pantry ang kanilang mga kahilingan o requests. Kailangan ding ilagay ang pangalan ng mag-aaral, grade at section para sa mas agarang aksyon. Oo nga pala, hindi lang requests ang pwedeng i-post. Pwede ring mag-post ang mga nais magbigay ng tulong o mga gustong mag-donate. Sabi nga nila, sharing is caring. Tandaan na ang Facebook group na ito ay pribado at posts na may kaugnayan lamang sa page na ito ang maaaprobahan. Mayroon din palang Google Form na ipamamahagi kung saan maaari nating isumite ang ating requests o kahilingan. Paano naman ang mga walang internet access sa bahay? Huwag mangamba dahil merong mga nakalaang drop boxes ang ating paaralan na kung saan maaaring ihulog ng mga magulang at tagapangalaga ang kanilang requests. Sa mga nais namang mag-donate ng school supplies, maaaring ilagay ang mga ito sa tabi ng drop boxes. Maaari ring mag-donate ng mga kagamitan o cash donation kaakibat ang pagsusumite ng deed of donation form. Pangalawa, mahalaga ang ugnayan ng mga guro at ng mga magulang o tagapangalaga sa programang ito. Gamit ang video calls o chats ay ipahahayag ng mga guro ang adhikain ng programang ito sa mga magulang o tagapangalaga. Maaari ring gawin ang orientation na ito ng face-to-face kasabay ng schedule ng kuhanan ng mga module. Gaya ng nabanggit, hindi lamang mga bagay ang maaaring i-donate. Pwede ring mag-conduct ng tutorial session, study tips, at iba pang mga kagamitan sa pagkatuto gaya ng mga aklat o kaya ay gadgets. Ikatlo, ang requested needs ng ating mga magulang o tagapangalaga ay ililista ng ating NEST focal person. Ang mga coordinator naman ang mag-aayos ng mga ito. Ang advisors ng ating mga mag-aaral, guidance counselor, at iba pang mga guro ay ipaaalam sa ating mga magulang at tagapangalaga ang petsa at oras ng pamimigay ng requested needs na gaganapin sa paaralan. Sabi nga nila, it takes a village to raise a child. Kaya naman aktibo at iba yung pakikilahok ang inaasahan sa pagsasanib puwersa ng paaralan at barangay na siyang tutukoy sa pangangailangan ng bawat Fernandinong mag-aaral at kikilos upang matugunan ito sa tulong at suporta rin ng mga miyembro ng komunidad. Isang malawakang komunidad para sa isang produktibong educational community pantry ay tiyak na lilikha ng iba yung pagkilos upang maging mas magaan at madali ang pagkatuto ng bawat kabataang Fernandino. Kaya naman tandaan, magbigay ayon sa kakayahan, kumuha ayon sa pangangailangan.
Fernandino Teens TV.
We are back. You are still tuned into Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. I hope you are enjoying our lesson. Now, let us continue with the evaluation. Number 3. Refer to the table on the screen. What is the position of the curve relative to the x-axis at x is less than negative 6? A, below. B, above. Awesome! The correct answer is A, below. Number 4. What is the position of the curve relative to the x-axis at x is greater than negative 6 but less than negative 2? A, below. B, above. Excellent. The correct answer is B, above. Number 5. What is the position of the curve relative to the x-axis at x is greater than negative 2 but less than 5? A, below. B, above. Amazing! The correct answer is A, below. Number 6. What is the position of the curve relative to the x-axis at x is greater than 5? A, below. B, above. Fantastic! The correct answer is B, above. Number 7. How does the graph look like? A, B, C, D. Great! The correct answer is letter A. I hope you have enjoyed the activity. Before we end our episode, here are some of the practical applications of the graphs of polynomials. Nursing, psychiatric, and home health aides use polynomials to determine schedules and keep records of patient progress. People seeking employment in these areas require a keen mathematical background using polynomial computations. Polynomials can also be used to model different situations, like in the stock market, to see how prices will vary over time. Business people also use polynomials to model markets, as in to see how raising the price of a good will affect its sales. Additionally, polynomials are used in physics to describe the trajectory of projectiles. Polynomial integrals, the sum of many polynomials, can be used to express energy, inertia, and voltage difference, to name a few applications. Converting measurements, using geometry to calculate area, and metric math applied to forestry, employment in conservation work, and logging. Forest engineers, conservationists, and loggers use polynomials in managing the land. For example, calculating how many trees to replant after cutting down a section of forest. Electronics use many polynomials. The definition of resistance, V equals I times R, is a polynomial relating the resistance from a resistor to the current through it and the potential drop across it. To sum up what you have learned, let us do a simple task. You need to fill in the blanks with the right terms. You may use the comment box in typing your answer if you are watching via YouTube. If not, then you just use a paper and a pen. Are you ready, Fernandino teens? I will only give you 5 seconds for you to provide the answer for each item. Number 1, a blank is defined by P of x equals a sub n, x raised to n, plus a sub n minus 1, x raised to n minus 1, plus and so on until you reach a sub 1, x plus a sub 0, where a sub n is not equal to 0 and n is a positive integer or a whole number. A sub n minus 1 down to a sub 0 are real numbers called blank. What are the answers? Very good. The answers are polynomial function and coefficients, respectively. Number 2. To graph a polynomial function of degree greater than 2, evaluate the function to determine ordered pairs. Then plot the points with these pairs as coordinates and connect the points to form a blank. What is the answer? Great! The answer is smooth curve. Number 3. Aside from the table of values, the blank can also be used. In this, we can sketch the graph of polynomial functions using the blank, some points, and the position of the curves. What are the answers? Excellent! The answers are table of signs and intercepts, respectively. Number 4. The x-coordinates of the points where the graph meets the x-axis are the zeros or the blank of the function. What is the answer? Correct. The answer is x-intercept. Have you obtained all the correct answers? I hope you have. These are the references that I have used in this episode. There you have it, Fernandino teens. You just have learned how to sketch the graph of polynomial functions with degree greater than 2. Again, this is Ma'am Jude, hoping that you always make each episode of the Fernandino Teens TV Season 2 an opportunity of learning amidst the pandemic. I am sure that everyone is excited to go back to school, but we cannot do it yet, so let us maximize what the situation offers. With the distant learning complemented with TV-based programs, I am sure that learning is possible. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and God bless us all.
Wow! Ang laki talaga ng naitulong sa akin ng lecture na yan ni Ma'am Judith. Naintindihan kong mabuti kung paano i-graph ang polynomial function with degree greater than 2.
Diba? Sabi ko naman sa'yo, Nan. Basta makinig ka lang ng mabuti sa mga episodes na ipinapalabas sa CLTV 36. Siguradong magiging madali ang pagsagot natin sa mga activities sa SciPacs.
Tama ka dyan, Fer. Ang dami na naman nating natutuhan sa araw na ito. Kaya naman, maraming salamat, ma'am. Isa na namang makabuluhang talakayan ng ating natunghayan, Fernandino Teens.
Magkita-kita tayo ulit bukas para sa isa na namang kapanapanabik na episode ng Fernandino
Teens
TV
Season 2,
na kung saan ang kabataang Fernandino ay angad sa angking talino.
Yakapin mo ang bagong pag-asa. Simulan mong abutin ang iyong pangarap na magbibigay dangal sa iyong bukas. Ang suliranin, hindi laging nandyan, dapat mong harapin. Kami iyong kasama sa bawat takin, magkaakbay nating lulutasin. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Ang mga aral ay ginintuangatin ng bawat guro na siyang gagabay sa iyong pagkamulat. Naway umukit ito sa iyong isipan. Maging mapanuri, sundin ng wasto at nararapat. Kagandahang asal ang ipakita, ipadama ang pusong may malasakit.